Thank you very much. The next inductee to the Healthcare Marketing Hall of Fame for 2010 is from Miss Dulles, Mr. Michael Tremblay. And presenting to Michael would be Barbara Reynolds from Miss Dulles. Barbara.
Oh, I thought I could get away without my reading glasses, but I don't think the light is good enough up here. My name is Barbara, and I work for Mike as the Director of Marketing at Astellas Pharma. Our history together goes back about 16 years between Janssen Ortho and Astellas. And I'm here to tell you just some of the highlights of the 34 years that Mike has been in the pharmaceutical industry. Mike graduated from the University of Windsor, or Last Chance U, as we really like to tease him, with a degree in biology, or at least back in those days. His first pharmaceutical sales job was in Windsor for a company known in those days as Smith, Kline & French, where he sold prescription and OTC products for 4 years. He then continued his career as a sales rep for another 4 years at Baxter Travenol and Searle, before being promoted to his first sales manager job in Manitoba in 1984. That was a really big change for Mike. He was a small town boy from Windsor, and all of a sudden he was moving to Manitoba, the land of the extremes. Extreme temperatures, extremely big mosquitoes, and from what he told me when they moved, extremely big snowbanks, and he lost his wife, and you'll see his wife after, she's very tall, in a snowbank when they moved. Anyway, Searle then promoted him. He moved to warmer and bigger territories. He moved from the prairies to Quebec, and then he was promoted to Regional Sales Director for Eastern Canada. At the end of the 80s, Mike was offered an interesting job he couldn't refuse, to help start a biotechnology company known as Ortho Biotech and take on the responsibility of the hiring and management of the sales force. He hired, trained, and directed 20 people in the startup of this very successful company before he was moved on to Ortho Pharmaceuticals as the National Sales Director in charge of 71 people. I feel like it's a bit of I don't know what the word is. We've got a lot of Janssen Ortho people up here, so I'm going to be repeating something Percy said. So, although the company name changed from Ortho to Ortho McNeil, then Ortho, and then Janssen Ortho, I was there for all of those, and the number of people increased from 70 to 90 people. Mike continued as Director of Sales for 6 years through this tumultuous time, where he more than demonstrated his ability to manage through change and ensure continued sales growth for the company. But then he got another interesting offer he couldn't refuse, to head up the sales force for a relatively young company in Canada known as Fujisawa. I moved to this company in the year prior to Mike, and I think we both secretly hoped our days of mergers were over. But lo and behold, in 2005, Fujisawa merged with Yamanouchi to become Astellas, and also to become the very first Japanese pharmaceutical company ever to undergo a merger. At Astellas, I've had the pleasure of working alongside Mike for 7 years and now report to him in his role as Vice President of Marketing and Sales. During this time, the company's sales and personnel have tripled. Mike's been on the ground floor and helping to build 2 very successful companies, and he's managed successfully through 3 mergers and times of change. His leadership qualities include solid strategic vision and the ability to build and lead high-performing, competent teams. Sales and marketing are a close team under Mike's leadership, and that is instrumental to our success. He's extremely personable and very dedicated to our customers and Astellas personnel. And for those of you who know Mike, he immediately puts you at ease, and he always shows a special interest in how you're doing. On the personal side, Mike loves good wine, and we like his wine choices too when we're out with him. He likes Italian or steak restaurants, playing hockey with his JOI friends, and he's wicked, and I mean wicked, at golf. If Mike wasn't doing what he was doing now, I think after a few glasses of wine, he said, "Caddy to Tiger Woods, you might want to reconsider that." At least wait for the scandal to die down. But he'd probably be a golf pro or chef because he loves to cook for his friends. He's been a wonderful boss and a good friend, and I'd now like to introduce Mike Tremblay.
In conclusion, well, thank you, Barb, for the very kind words. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate all of my fellow inductees. I'm truly honored to be among such a great group of people. I still don't know why I'm up here, and I do want to find out who nominated me, because I owe them. If you'd have told me 34 years ago, and I did start when I was 12, Lauren, when I first started in the business, that I'd still be here 34 years later, I would have told you that you're crazy. I fell into this business more by accident, certainly, than by design, and I really have to thank my first manager, Mr. John McCaig, for hiring me. I really didn't fit the profile of a pharmaceutical rep back then. The profile back then, and from an HR perspective, they could ask all these questions. How old are you? Are you married? Do you have any children? What about a mortgage? All of those things. Previous sales experience. That one you can ask today. It's probably the only one. But in fact, I didn't meet any of the criteria that a normal pharmaceutical rep at that time were met. I was too young. I was single. I was living at home. No sales experience. To this day, I still don't know why John hired me. I consider myself very fortunate to be in this business. Our business is very, very special in that we develop, manufacture, promote products that can make dramatic differences in people's lives. I don't know of any other business that can say something like that. This may be an oversimplification, but you know what? I think our business is about products, patients, and people. I've been fortunate to have been involved in a number of groundbreaking therapies, including products like Tagamet with SmithKline, Eprex at Janssen Ortho and Ortho Biotech, and certainly most recently with Prograf, which is the leading primary immunosuppressant in Canada. Now that covers the product side, so now we want to talk a little bit about the patient side, because that's really what we're all about. I've been fortunate over my career to meet patients who took the products that we promoted. And it's a very special thing, and I really was touched by it. My first recollection was with Tagamet. A gastroenterologist pulled me into a patient's office and said, I want you to meet a patient that's on your product. Something that wasn't really done at the time, and it really did impact me a great deal. And subsequent to that, I have been very fortunate in many of my therapeutic areas to meet the patients who take the drugs. But without a doubt, the most impactful experience that I had relative to one of my products was a time that I had volunteered, and Barb was there at the time as well, to help with the World Transplant Games in London, Ontario in July 2005. In fact, this is the only games where steroids are allowed and encouraged. So the participants of these games are all solid organ transplant patients, and whether it's heart, lung, liver, pancreas, what have you. And they compete in a number of athletic events, but it really isn't about the athletics. It's really about their celebration of life. And additionally, they're there to increase awareness for organ donation, to recognize the families who have given the ultimate sacrifice, and certainly for those families that have donated some of their own organs. I could not help but be in awe of these athletes' passion for their newfound lives, and you know that our product played a small part in that overall new life of theirs. So now for the people side of the equation. I've worked for a number of fantastic companies, as Barb mentioned, probably too many companies actually. And some of them have been previously inducted to the Hall of Fame, including Michael Cloutier, Percy Sky, Janet Klebo, Christine Watley, and most recently Greg Anderson. Additionally, I've had the good fortune to work with either directly or indirectly a number of you in this audience. There are a number of people that I'd like to thank first, and I would really like to thank my colleagues at Astellas. They're here. Actually, they get the afternoon off, so I'm not sure if they're here for me or they're here to get the afternoon off. But get back to work after this. We've really seen our company grow steadily over the years. I really owe it to them. It's been a fantastic ride over the last 10 years. And certainly Barb, I mean, she's the best marketer out there, and I really love working with her, and I owe a great deal of my success to her. But the person that I owe the most to is my lovely wife, Joanne. Barb mentioned the trip to Winnipeg, and we had a 5-month-old daughter moving from Windsor to Winnipeg. We left on February 17th, 2.5 hours later, no family, no friends, 45-degree temperature difference in 2.5 hours, and we landed ourselves in Winnipeg, and never complained. We spent the next 2 years, or 3 winters actually, if you ask Joanne, because she'll say it was always 3 winters, that we spent in Winnipeg. And then when we had the opportunity to move, she automatically said, sure, but I'd never told her where. But it happened to be Montreal, and she was 7 months pregnant at the time when we moved to Montreal. Spent 4 years there, and really has been really the rock of our family, and I really do love you, dear. So, in conclusion, I consider myself very lucky to have fallen into this industry. I have and continue to be involved with fantastic products. I still try and meet the patients whose lives our products change. And certainly, it's wonderful to be involved with such a great group of people. So thanks again for this recognition. I'll always cherish it.